Hey guys, the last thing I want to talk about is a section like this. And so I'm going to kind of change the directions, and then I'm going to come back and talk about what this means, because that gets a little bit trickier. So I'm going to change this right now. Again, don't change this in your notes, but just come over here and write 0 to 2 pi. That's parentheses, not bracket. Like I said, you can write that out to the side, but like I'm crossing this out for right now. I don't want you to cross that part out in your notes. Okay, so let's think back to degree measurement. So I want to know when sine is 0. So let's look at this. Or sine of theta is 0. Where is that? So if I think about the unit circle, and I think about how sine is my y value. So that means that it's going to happen here and here to make, so when sine of theta is 0. So I'm trying to figure out where does that occur? Well, here that's 0 degrees, here is 180, but remember, we're not going to do degrees anymore. So I'm going to say 0 radians, and I'm going to say pi radians. Now, there's a reason why I made this a parenthesis. So what happens is we're going to go all the way around the circle, and we're going to get right up to 2 pi radians, but that parenthesis says that we're not going to include 2 pi radians. So yes, like you could say 2 pi if you kept going, and we're going to talk about that later, but right now we're not going to include 360. We're going to include like 359.99999, but we're not going to include 360 or 2 pi because of that parentheses. Okay, so let's do cosine. When is cosine of theta 0? Well, let's see, that's my x value. So that would be this right here. Okay, so normally I would say 90 and 270, but I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to say pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 when I'm dealing with radians. Okay, let's keep going. So number 3, I'll do this in a different color. Number 3, I'm looking for when the cosine of theta is 1. Okay, so basically when my x value is 1. So I'm looking at right there. That's the only time that it's 1. So then my answer would just be 0 radians. So remember, you don't put like a degree or any kind of like radian unit there. It's just 0. Okay, let's go down here. Again, I'll do it in a different color. When sine of theta is -1. Okay, so I'm looking where my y value now is -1. So right here, so that's going to be 3 pi over 2. Normally we would say 270, because we're dealing with radians, it's going to be 3 pi over 2. Ooh, so this is tricky. Okay, so we have tangent of square root of 3. So think about what you know. So that's going to be a 60-degree reference angle, or pi over 3. And I'm looking where tangent's positive. So let's go back up here. So tangent is, that looks hideous. Tangent's positive in quadrant 1, in quadrant 3. So in quadrant 1, it's going to be pi over 3, but in quadrant 3, that 45-degree reference angle is going to be, I'm sorry, the 60-degree reference angle is going to be 4 pi over 3. So again, this is like 60, and this is like 240. Okay, and then finally, when cotangent is undefined, so cotangent, let's go back up here, that is left over right, and we want the 0 to be on bottom. So 0 is on bottom. I'm sorry, my dog's going crazy. 0 is on bottom here. So again, I'm going to say 0 and pi. Okay, so that is when it is between 0 and 2 pi. So let's go back and talk about what the directions are actually asking for. So both pieces are going to be on your test. So I want to cover both parts to it. So this is like the easier part. Okay, now we're going to talk about the pattern. So I'm going to erase all this, and we're just going to talk about for all radians. Okay, so this means pattern. So it doesn't matter if it's like 0 degrees or 1,000 degrees or, in terms of radians, whatever, we're going to create a pattern. So think about what we just talked about, that sine of theta happens at 0, and then it happens again at pi. So every time you're coming around this way, it's hitting it. You're coming around this way, it's hitting it. Okay, so the pattern you're going to take, usually it's the first one you see. It can be either one of these. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to say theta is equal to 0, or you could say pi, plus, and then what's the pattern? So it happens like this occurs every pi, and then it comes down here. We go pi this way, and we have another mark here. So this is going to be pi times n, and n is the number of rotations. Okay, and again, you could have said pi plus pi n. Either one of those is totally fine. I usually just choose the first one. That's usually what you see. Okay, so again, with cosine, let's go down here. So cosine, it happened here and here. So even though it's sideways, it's still occurring every pi. So every pi, every 180 degrees, every pi, you're hitting the mark that it's referring to. So I'm just going to say theta is equal to, I'll just take the first one this time, pi over 2 plus, again, pi times the number of rotations. So that's my pattern that happens for all, like we can put like any value, radian value in, and it's going to work. Okay, notice how this one, this number 3, let me change colors. This number 3 only happened here. So we had to go all the way around the circle for that to happen again. So it's going to happen every 2 pi radians. So I'm going to say my pattern is going to be theta is equal to 0 plus 2 pi n for my pattern. Okay, let's go down here. Same thing. Notice for this one, I had to go all the way around the circle, for that to happen. So I'm going to say theta is equal to 3 pi over 2 plus 2 pi n. So basically, most of these you're going to have either pi times n, or 2 pi times n. Okay, so tangent, I erased everything, sorry. Tangent was this of theta equals the square root of 3, and that happened 2 times at pi over 3. Let me just write this down. Pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. So again, it doesn't matter which one you choose. I'll choose that one. And I'll say pi over 3 plus, and now we're back to pi n because it happens 2 times around the unit circle. Same thing with this one. So it happens 2 times around the unit circle. So I'm going to say theta is equal to 0 plus pi n. And again, you could have said pi plus pi n. Either one of those is fine. Okay, so let's go back up here and review. Whenever you see all, that means pattern. If you see the same directions and you see in the interval from like, oops, sorry, that's going to be a bracket, 0 to 2 pi, that's when you do these. So you're going to have to know the difference on your test. On your homework assignment, it's going to give you this direction, but I want you to also include the interval so you can do both pieces to it. Okay, that's it.